Hey, let's make some coffee. Come on. I'm just wondering, what if some of these coffee beans are not real? Like, seriously, what if the company that makes these coffee beans put some plastic ones? I wouldn't even know it because once I put them into the blender, it's all gone. They're mixed. Well, now it's all grounded. There's no way of knowing if some of them were plastic. Well, it turns out that in enterprise finance departments, something similar to that happens because organizations lose 5% of their annual revenue to invoice fraud and errors. So on average, their teams spend 20 hours per week manually processing and validating invoices against their contracts. At large enterprises, this means dedicating 2 full-time employees just to catch discrepancies between invoices and master service agreement. And I'm not making this up. Take a look at this news that I'm going to be sharing with you.
Man pleads guilty to phishing scheme that fleeced Facebook and Google of $100 million. A Lithuanian man pleaded guilty last week to bilking Google and Facebook out of more than $100 million in an elaborate scheme involving a fake company, fake emails, and fake invoices.
Man steals $122 million from Facebook and Google by simply sending them random bills which they paid.
So for enterprise scale operations, we're talking millions in preventable losses, all because traditional validation processes can't scale with modern business complexity. Now, come on, let's walk with me to the office. Now, the problem is not just volume, the problem is scaling, because when you are managing that amount of invoices that you have to check against different type of terms and conditions, those issues happen, just like with the coffee beans. I don't know if some of those are made of plastic or not. And once they are blended out, it's completely impossible to figure it out if there were some mistakes done in the process. So what if you could read every invoice like a veteran accountant, cross-reference every contract in terms of milliseconds, and flag issues when they become an expensive problem? Now hear me out. You can do that. You can do that with Appsmith. So today I'll show you how to build something that would have saved enterprises hundreds of thousands of dollars, an AI-powered invoice validator system that will, 1, automatically extract every important detail from those invoices, even those tricky handwritten ones. 2nd, cross-reference contract terms in real time to catch discrepancies. And 3rd, make clear recommendations. For example, pay, reject, or investigate further. The best part is that we'll build this entire system in Appsmith in under 10 minutes with no machine learning expertise required. Let's do that. So I have this very simple application here. It's just an invoice manager app, and I have just a table of invoices that I have to process and pay and check against those contract terms and conditions. Now I have the attachment here, which is a PDF, and basically it has the details of what I have to pay. Now, if I do that with a human, we'll have to go back to the contract, check if they make sense, and against all of that in volume, it's going to be a problem. Now, the whole idea that I have is let's build an Appsmith workflow, and that workflow is going to be checking all of those invoices that we have every day. It's going to be validating against the contract, and that way for the next day, the finance team, all it has to do is just go and check the recommendations and take an action from that. So let's create a new Appsmith workflow. And the first thing we're going to do is create a new data source. This data source is going to be Appsmith AI. So let's find Appsmith AI here. There you go. And let's put it a name. I'm going to call it Contract Manager. And the powerful feature of Appsmith AI is that you can ingest a lot of files for Appsmith to process and be able to have RAG on the top of that. So let's do that. Let's find, in this case, I'm going to find the contracts. I'm going to find one that I have here, and this is the contracts that is going to be using for this particular freelancers. Now I have the contract here, which is basically just a terms and conditions that has invoice requirements, payment terms, performance, confidentiality, and many other things that are very standard for a contract. Now this is for the sake of testing, but we'll see the power of that. So now that I have the contract created and uploaded to Appsmith AI, let's just save it. And then we'll tell Appsmith to compare that against this file. Now, we can upload as many files as we want, and then we can programmatically tell Appsmith, hey, use this one or use this other one. Also, I have this Invoices Postgres database, which is just what I just showed you, where I have all of the invoices that are being reported to my system. So now that we have that, let's go back to our workflow, which I'm going to be calling Invoices. There you go. And let's create a new query. This is going to be an invoices query. And all we're going to be doing is just getting the invoices, which, using a where statement, the isAnalyze field, which is a boolean, is equal to false. Then we're going to be changing this after we process those to true, which means that Appsmith AI has processed those invoices and is ready for someone else to take a look. So let's run it, and there you go. Those are the two contracts that has not been processed by Appsmith AI. Now we can give it a name. I'm gonna call it, let's see what name we can put it, get invoices. There you go. Now let's create, in this case, a query against Appsmith AI. So let's create a new contract manager query, and this one is gonna be in charge of extracting the contract information. So let's give it a damn name, extract contract information, and we're going to be using the feature called extract entities from image. There you go. Now we have to give some parameters to it. In this case, I'm going to be using a interpolation or data binding in Appsmith to pass programmatically all of the invoices information for Appsmith to extract. So here I'm just going to be calling this that params.invoice. There you go. Now the entities, this is where I'm going to be telling Appsmith AI which information I want to extract from those invoices. In my case, what I care is the issued date, the due date, the amount, the address, the IBAN account, and the SWIFT code for the for sending the payment. And then I'm going to be telling some additional instructions for it to use. And I'm going to be telling if IBAN account or SWIFT code are not present, label them as not present or null, because I want to tell Appsmith AI when I extract those entities, hey, these two were not there. Again, this is you telling Appsmith AI what you want them to do. Here's the entities I want you to extract. This is what you do in case you don't find something. You will give all the instructions that you want. And that's pretty much what we need. Now let's create another query against Appsmith AI. And this one we're going to be calling Analyze Invoice, because it's going to be the one that's going to be in charge of comparing and analyzing those invoices. And yes, we're going to be using generating text. And now all we have to do is give it a prompt, just a standard prompt of what we want it to do. So here's what I have. I'm going to be telling you are an invoice manager for a digital agency and your company needs you to review invoice information against the contract attached. Here are the details, and I'm passing the details as a parameter because we're going to be doing programmatically. After expensive reviewing of the data, if the data of the invoice matches what is defined in the contract terms and conditions, I need you to evaluate if the invoice follows the stipulated terms, as well if it follows those conditions and you recommend them to proceed with the payment. If you find any anomaly, at least the very minimum inconsistency or something that does not match the contract terms and conditions, like the date ranges, addresses, missing IBAN or SWIFT, or any other requisite, please share your recommendation starting with reject and the reasons why. If everything is according to the contract, share your recommendation starting with approve and a small overview of the approving reasons. Now again, this is my prompt. This is what I wanted to do, but you can put whatever you need in terms of your business rules. That's the power of Appsmith AI. And now here I'm going to be telling you which contextual files I want you to use. And I'm going to be passing the contract terms. Now again, I could pass multiple of them and then programmatically define which one I wanted to use. So that's perfect. That's all I really need. Now, the last thing I need in terms of queries is an invoice query to update those queries after I process them. So I'm gonna be calling this one, let me see, what name can I put it? Update invoice, very simple. Update invoice, there you go. And now here we're gonna have to do is update invoices and then set, and we're gonna say is analyze it, it's analyzed equal to true, and recommended action, which is another table field that we have, just recommended action equal to, let's see, interpolation here, this, that, params, that, recommendation. I have it here. Yes, this, that, params, that, recommendation. There you go. And then the where condition. It's important to use a where condition when you're writing SQL. Where ID is equal to, again, this, that, params, that, ID. And let me see if everything is looking good here. Let me just make sure that these curly braces are good. There you go. So that's all this query is going to be doing, just updating the invoice, setting this to true, and passing the recommendation from Appsmith AI, where the ID is as the parameter we're going to be passing. So that means we can now write our function, our workflow function in plain JavaScript. That's the beauty of Appsmith workflows. And I have the piece of code here. I'm just going to put it and we can go over it together because it's very simple. This is now, there you go. Now execute workflow. So the first thing is we're just going to be getting the invoices. So we're going to be calling get invoices, which is the one that we have here, that run. Now that we have the invoices, we're going to have a for statement that is going to loop or iterate through it. And the first thing we're going to be doing is creating a new entities variable and passing that information to the extract contract information that run, which is the one that I have here. And we're going to be passing a parameter, which is the invoice. We're going to be passing the attachment for Appsmith AI to extract the entities that we want. When that's done, now it's time for the analysis. So we're, again, very similar. We're going to be calling analyze invoice and passing the invoice as a parameter and the information of the invoice that we got from the entities. So we're passing the entities we extracted to Appsmith AI for analysis and comparison against the contract and terms and condition. And lastly, all we're going to be doing is updating the database, passing the recommendation from Appsmith AI and the ID of the given invoice that we are processing. And that's pretty much it. It's very, very standard, very simple. So let me just hit deploy here and then we're going to give it a shot. So now let's run it and see if it works. So now let's click run, and then we will have to pass some parameters data to our workflow. In this case, we don't need any data to be expected to pass to this workflow. So all we have to do is just pass an empty object and now run it. So it's going to start. So the first thing is going to run the get invoices that run. And here you have the response. We have two invoices, the ones that are going to be processed by Appsmith. Then we're going to be using extract information that run to extract the entities from those invoices. So let's see an example here of our response. We have issued date, there you go, due date, the amount of that invoice, perfect, the address to which that invoice has been sent, the IBAN account, and the SWIFT code, perfect. Now it's going to run the analyze invoice execution, and here it is. And Appsmith AI is telling us, yes, approve that invoice because complies with the contract terms and conditions. The address matches the stipulated billing address. The invoice, let me make this bigger so you can read it. So yes, the issue date is this one and the due date is this one, are 36 days apart, meeting the minimum 30-day requirement. The amount is this one right here, which does not exceed the 10K requirement, due date condition of at least 2 months over $10,000. All necessary details are correct and in accordance with the agreed terms. Therefore, I recommend proceeding with the payment. There you go, a full analysis of a comparison between the extracted entities and that invoice just happened and is ready for someone to review. So let's take a look at another one to see if maybe something was wrong with another invoice. And here I have the extract information. here it is. Here is the response of the second invoice. Here we have the same information that we ask Appsmith AI to extract. And in this one, we are seeing that there is no Swift code for that invoice. And indeed, we don't see, oh, here is the Swift code. And in this one, there is no Swift code for the transfer. So that's a problem over there. So we can go back here. We see that indeed it didn't found the Swift code. So probably it's going to be rejecting this one. So let's see, and it's telling yes, reject. The invoice does not comply with the contract terms and condition. 1, the due date is only 8 days after the issue date per the contract term. 2.1c, the invoice issue date and due date must be at least 30 days apart. The amount of the invoice is $1,200, which exceeds the 10K USD threshold specified in the contract terms and condition. Therefore, the due date must be at least 2 months from the issue date, and so on and so forth. It's going to be telling us a bunch of things that is not correct. For example, the Swift code is missing, as we could see. So indeed, there you go. There's a full review and a full recommendation. So now we can take a decision. We can either make it manually or automate it. We could automate sending a follow-up to the person who submitted this invoice saying, hey, it looks like your invoice is incorrect formatted against the terms and conditions. Please recreate it again. Extremely powerful. So if we go back now to our application, now we can see that there should be some information here, and there you go. Now we see easily that those invoices has been analyzed by Appsmith AI and is telling you these recommendations. For this one, yes, approve, and for this one, this reject. So what we could do now is evolve this application. We can create functions for approving or for rejecting, for sending follow-ups, or for sending this to another one internally in the team. But what we have seen right now is the true power of Appsmith AI, which just built an entire workflow that compares all of those invoice extract entities against their terms and conditions, and is going to be telling full recommendations with the exact piece of the contract that is being missed or is being misaligned. That is the true power of Appsmith AI.